know you're there.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Sharna, we got to quit meeting like this.
No, you're right. Good to see you, Jeff. Hello, everyone.
I think Jeff does more Zoom meetings than the rest of us combined. I know I do a lot. Shauna does a lot. Jeff does a lot. So, and I think Cindy does a lot. Maybe all of us do a lot. And Penny does a lot. And Dan, I assume you do when you're at work?
I do quite a lot, yes.
Well, thank goodness it exists. What would we do if we didn't have this? It would be telephone conference calls.
This is better.
Oh, this is way better. Thank goodness. Okay. I'll let you, Lynn, if you wouldn't mind introducing Dan so we can get into the meeting. Remember, everybody, this is being recorded and will be available on YouTube either later today or first thing in the morning.
Well, I'd be happy to. I had the opportunity to meet with Dan over the last couple of years, and I thought that his particular message would be important for timing. So our guest this morning is Daniel Jenuwine, spelled with a J instead of a G, maybe, if that was your first thought. But Dan serves as the Vice Chancellor for Advancement at Oakland Community College. In this role, he's responsible for philanthropy, alumni affairs, and community and government relations. Dan joined OCC in January of 2017. That had to be almost about the time that I first met with Dan. And as executive director of the OCC Foundation, working with the foundation staff and volunteer board of directors to advance OCC's mission through philanthropy. Prior to joining OCC, he spent 10 years as a consultant with Richner & Richner, a nationally recognized fundraising consulting firm based in Ann Arbor. We're lucky he didn't stay in Ann Arbor. He earned a bachelor's degree from Wayne State University and a Master of Science degree in finance at Walsh College. He and his family live in Troy, so we're lucky to have him attend this distant meeting. Virtually reliable as always. So, Dan Jenuwine, it's all yours.
I've turned on sharing, Dan, if you need to use it.
Thank you very much. And thank you for that introduction, Lynn. I appreciate you inviting me to join the group this morning to just give you a little bit of an update on what is happening at the college. Our relationship with Farmington Rotary goes back quite a number of years, and it connects through your own philanthropy. The foundation maintains an endowed scholarship in memory of Lydia Silvani Foley, and we have for quite a number of years. That was created in partnership with Farmington Rotary, and as recently as this fall, it's provided a $1,000 scholarship to an OCC student. So we appreciate that you thought of us to be the stewards of those resources and of the memory of Lydia Silvani Foley. It's an important responsibility for us. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time to give you a sense of where things are with the college, how we connect to the community, and ways you might be involved if you're interested, information that you can share with people who are looking to advance themselves through education. But first, let me just, yeah, can you see the slides all right? Are they?
Yes, they're perfect.
Okay. A little bit about my background beyond what Lynn shared with you. I was the first in my family to graduate from college, which is something that I have in common with many of our graduates. My entire career has been focused on education. That's my cause. It's what I believe has the most impact on individuals and our community as a whole. So I'm honored to serve OCC, where we have that unique intersection between education and employment that many other higher education institutions may not have quite so deliberately as we do. And as Lynn mentioned, I'm responsible for OCC's relationships in our community. That's my role as head of advancement. And I suspect that many of you have some connection, a personal connection, or maybe a once removed connection to OCC, because we've served so many people in the community since we opened our doors back in 1965. So if you have a personal connection to OCC, maybe you've taken a class, someone in your family has, if you would share that in the chat, I'd be really interested to know if that connection exists. We have a very simple mission. Our goal is to unlock that innate potential in each of our students. They come to us looking to advance themselves. We know that they have great qualities and great skills, and they need our guidance and help to unlock that and advance themselves to their goals. And by doing that, we advance the whole community through our service. This gentleman here, his name is Preston Wellborn. He's one of our students, photography student, and not only is he the star of some of our photographs that we use to share our news, but he also, as an accomplished photographer, took this photograph. I'm not quite sure how he did that, but we're glad to have his skills in play for us. So you may have heard about the 60 by 30 goal that the state of Michigan has set for the state as a whole, which is that 60% of working age adults, those 24 to 60, I believe, would have a post-secondary degree or credential by 2030. Oakland County, we're very fortunate. We were almost at 60% already. And so the county set an even more ambitious goal that 80% of adult residents of the county would have some sort of post-secondary credential by 2030. So one of the ways that OCC is connecting with the community right now is that we're taking a lead or central role in trying to reach that 80 by 30 goal. Obviously, this isn't something that any one institution can do itself, but because of OCC's nature, we find ourselves in the center of very many things that are going on to advance this goal. It's the traditional associate degree, which would take you 2 years to earn full-time. It's the certificate, so those, the shorter path than you might get attending a four-year university. But beyond that, we have many, many other opportunities for people to reach some sort of credential to advance themselves through obtaining new knowledge and skills at college. There's short-term training opportunities that typically would be just one semester long, a 15-week credential. We do third-party credentialing as well, which means that within a course itself, I'll give an example, our auto servicing area. So as a student in that area, you're taking a 15-week course, but along the way, as you finish different modules, you can take a national certification exam and prove through this exam that you've mastered a particular skill. And those credentials are recognized in the employment world, and they stack up. So in certain areas, our students earn employment credentialing even before they have completed a certificate or a degree.
Excellent.
And then, of course, there's what many people think of when they think of a community college is that we prepare our students to transfer on into their advanced learning, their higher learning. Many of our students, maybe about half of our students now will take their first 2 years or take a number of semesters at OCC, then transfer to a four-year institution like Walsh, Oakland University, Wayne State, and so forth. And that has great advantages for them because we have smaller classes, we're less expensive, and we have lots of student services that we surround our students with. And those are just a few of the things that make people come to OCC. Why would you choose Oakland Community College over any other place? Well, there's a number of advantages to it, and I've listed some of them there on the screen. the high quality for low cost. Our value proposition really is second to none. And that's thanks to the people of Oakland County who have invested in us with their property tax levy. We are able to offer our courses at the lowest tuition rate, $97 a credit hour of any college in the region. And that's really important part of our mission, to make sure that financial resources are not a barrier to people pursuing their ambitions. And so all of that together makes OCC the #1 college choice for our recent high school graduates. So the class of 2019, 1 out of every 9 graduates of that class chose OCC to start their college education.
Wow.
Which is really remarkable. That's the top destination for the state. And even further than that, I'll say that for the Farmington schools, that number is even higher. Over 14% of the graduates of the class of 2019 started their college education at OCC. Cool. That's 1 out of every 7 of the graduates of that school district came to OCC first.
That's a lot.
We're very proud of that record of being the entry point to higher education for such a large part of Oakland County's graduating class, and that's consistent year after year. We may trade that top spot with another institution in some years, but consistently we're very much at the top. And a statistic that makes this even more remarkable is that in that class of 2019, almost 32% of that class did not go to college at all. So of the students who are college going, we take a very large percentage of that group. I'm going to come back to that statistic because that's something that really worries me, and something that perhaps the Rotary can help us to change. And another part of the reason why we're so successful in drawing students into the college is because our students are comfortable at OCC. They tell us that. We're a very diverse group of students and employees, people of every age, people of every description, every background feel at home at OCC because they see people who are pursuing their own ambitions who are like them, and they can that makes us very much a place where you're not just simply interacting with an elite subset of our entire community. We are the entire community. About 17% of our students are the very first in their family to attend college, and we have special scholarships for the students who are 60 and over, so that they can reduce their costs even further by 20%. And about 38% are over the age of 24. So when you think about the traditional image of the college student, you're thinking about that fresh-faced first year, just finished high school, off into college. They're going to be there for 4 years full-time. They'll graduate and off into the world. That doesn't describe the OCC student. We're students of every age, of every description, of every ambition, and we do a pretty good job of serving them all. So I'm frequently asked, how are we teaching our students in the midst of this pandemic? And just like you in the Rotary, we found ways to adapt. Back in the winter semester, when the shutdown order came into place, we had 10 days in which we converted 1,520 classes from face-to-face to online. And that was a huge undertaking, and it brought everybody together to make sure that we could be successful at that, and our students would not have an interruption to their learning. That was the very middle of our semester, and it was a real challenge, but we learned a lot from it. And we learned how we could do better for the summer and the fall semester. So you can see here on the screen the 4 choices that we have. For fall semester, we're offering these same 4 ways of learning for winter. The principle that we're following is that if it can be taught online successfully and well and at a high quality, it will be taught online. So what that means for us is some classes like English composition, 100% online. Every meeting of the class is online. Others like chemistry, you might have 12 weeks out of 15 where you're learning online, you're learning from the book, so to speak, and 3 weeks you're in the laboratory on campus with doing the hands-on experiments.
Right.
And then there are other courses where you can't successfully teach it unless you're actually there and hands-on. So culinary studies, nursing, the industrial technology programs. We have those students in the lab with all of the safety protocols in place to make sure that they have a high quality education in those areas. They don't have to interrupt their education, but they're also safe. But the other thing that we recognized is that college is not just about the academics, and that we needed to make sure that all of the resources that we have available for our students to be successful were also available to them online. So in addition to those 1,500 classes shifting to online, we put all of our student services online. Fortunately, we had already had experience with this. This was an option that we had already provided for our students. But with the pandemic and our concerns for their safety, we made sure that 100% of our services are online. One I love to brag about, our library, we have a 24/7 hotline for the library. So if you remember back in your student days, you've got a report due at 8 a.m. the next morning, it's 2 in the morning, and you're trying to find that resource that you need. Our students can text or call the library, and they will get a librarian on the line who will help them. That's a consortium of librarians who agree to be on call and rotate through that. But it's a great resource besides other supports that you see here on the screen. Our tutoring, our counseling, academic support services, all of that is available to make sure our students advance. Now, I'm frequently asked, so what are the hot classes? What are students being drawn to? And where do we see enrollment growing? And one of the areas is in our first responder training. Now, you see there are 4 different academies: police, fire, EMS, the dispatch academy. These are all delivered over at our Auburn Hills campus at our CREST facility. It's Combined Regional Emergency Services Training. In fact, if you ever have to call 911, the person who answers that phone, the police officer or the firefighter who comes to respond to the call, the EMS driver and the paramedic who takes you to the hospital, and very likely the nurse in the hospital, all of them are trained at OCC. And I'm really pleased to say that the interest in these academies has been growing over the years. We, for the last few police academies, have had record classes. Our capacity is, we've almost reached the capacity for our police academies. The Fire Institute, we've had to add another summer institute to meet the demand. So it's very, it's heartening to see that people are choosing this type of service to our community, and they're coming to OCC to train themselves. We have people from all over Southeast Michigan, from as far away as Monroe, Lansing, and St. Clair counties to come to our police academy because of its strong reputation for producing very high quality cadets. And another area where we're seeing a lot of interest among our students, this probably won't surprise you at all, is our health professions. I think when crises occur, there's always a group of people who are inspired and motivated by what they are seeing. They want to step forward and help. And you know, in this particular moment of crisis for us, the obvious way to help is to enter a health profession. And you see our areas there. We have a long waiting list to enter the nursing program. We're looking for ways to expand these programs. Very often they're limited by the number of clinical spaces that we have available with our partners in the hospitals, but we're finding new ways to grow in any case. So a recent example, partnership with the Detroit Medical Center, we've doubled our cohort for surgical technology. With some financial resources from the DMC, we were able to expand that program. So we're very happy to see our students stepping forward and wanting to serve the community in the health professions. And another area where we're seeing a lot of interest and demand is in the skilled trades. This is a real challenge for us, and very often these the openings, the demand for these positions is so great that our students are employable before they finish our curriculum. And so, you know, that's a challenge for us, because when you have a student who doesn't finish their 1-year certificate or their 2-year degree and they leave and they're employed, we applaud that. That's our goal. But the record keepers who judge whether or not we're doing a good job see that as a failure sometimes, right? So we have to manage our relationships so that you know, it's understood that for us, a successful student is a student who goes on to achieve their own goals and finds employment. And sometimes that means they don't finish. We see that in welding right now. There's so much demand in welding that a student with just the basics can find a really good paying job right off the bat. And they may leave the program for a little while and then return as they need more training. You know, with auto servicing, the latest I heard from FCA is that they have 400 openings in Metro Detroit for auto servicing technicians, right?
Wow.
So if you're waiting a long time to get an appointment to have your car serviced, that's what's going on. So I mentioned earlier that the transfer options are something that a lot of students come to pursue their education. They start at OCC and they move on to a 4-year institution, but that transfer actually begins earlier. It can begin earlier for our students because we have 3 early college options as well as dual enrollment. What that means is that a high school student can begin taking college level classes at OCC, open a college transcript, earn credits that then transfer pretty much anywhere, and get a head start. So we have lots and lots of transfer agreements. We typically have about 1,000 dual enrolled high school students, meaning that they're taking classes at OCC at the same time that they are studying in their high school. Those are typically students who are pursuing something that their high school doesn't offer. But the early college programs, the Accelerated College Experience, Oakland Early College, which is housed at the Orchard Ridge campus, and the Oakland Technical Early College, those are all 13th year programs. What that means is that students enrolled in those programs, they take an extra year of high school, but at the end of that extra year, not only do they have their high school diploma, but they may also have completed an associate degree at OCC. And in any case, those programs in partnership with the school districts don't cost the student a cent. Great programs to accelerate learning and move those students on into their careers more quickly. And here's something that you may have already heard about, but it's definitely something that we would like for you to help us share. A couple of months ago, the state announced a new scholarship program that's called Futures for Frontliners. This is designed specifically for any worker who had to be on their work site during the early stages of the pandemic. And so, for example, the cashier at your local Kroger, the workers at the hospital who maybe a patient sitter or a custodian, somebody who had to be on site, so risked themselves to keep everything going and to serve us during that time, but who does not already have a college degree. In partnership with the state's community colleges, those workers can earn a college education. They can earn their associate's degree or a certificate from a community college tuition free. Now they have to apply before the end of this calendar year. So the state determines who's eligible, but once you are confirmed as eligible, then you can attend OCC, pursue the degree of your choice, and not have to pay any tuition. There's been about 80,000 people statewide who have applied. In Oakland County, that number is about 1,200, of which about 600 have been already confirmed as eligible, and we have them signed up for classes at OCC starting next year. So there's a lot more potential out here for those workers to learn about this. I think that we would have higher numbers if this were more widely known. So we're very eager to let people know that this is available. We don't want them to miss the opportunity to pursue their ambitions simply because they didn't hear about this. So that would be something that would, if you can help us to spread the word, it would really, I think, help with our community.
We'll do our best.
And then I also like to mention that, besides our work in academics, we're Oakland Community College, and I like to say we are the community's college. We try to be open and provide service to our whole community. Every single one of our trades programs, our professional programs, has a board of business and community advisors who make sure to tell us what the trends are in that particular area. It's a way for us to understand what's coming and adjust. We're involved in the chambers of commerce and many other things that you see listed here. If you have a chance to walk over at the Orchard Ridge campus, you'll see that again, we are a host site for the Detroit Institute of Arts Inside Out program. You'll find scattered around the campus 5 reproductions of masterworks from their collection, and it's something that you can experience an outdoor art gallery, and they will be up through the winter this time.
Cool.
And a number of other ways that we partner with the community so that we are truly serving the whole community. We've been offering a number of arts programs, also through partnerships with the DIA and the DSO, and we are also very much involved in the wider economy of the county. There's a number of continuing education courses if you're interested in learning how to fly a drone, if you're interested in a course on motorcycle safety and other things. We look for things that are not typically being offered by other community education programs. Every one of our 28 school districts in the county has its own community ed or continuing education program, so we're careful to try not to overlap with them. But we do have a number of unique offerings that are available on a non-credit basis. So just, you want to pursue something, you want to develop a new skill, you can come to OCC for that. And I'd like to conclude by sharing with you a little bit about what's happening on our campuses. And people are always curious about our construction, our plans for the different campuses. Besides our virtual campus, which has worldwide reach, we do have 5 academic campuses. And the one that you may be most familiar with is our Orchard Ridge campus in Farmington Hills. That is the middle one there on the images. So it's been, each of our campuses we have been investing in over time. We have 73 buildings, 2.1 million square feet of space, over 500 acres. And so we're constantly investing in those campuses on an ongoing cycle. Our last major construction project was on the Southfield campus in 2011. We have been renovating our dental and nursing labs at the Highland Lakes campus, and now we're installing some new lighting. We're experimenting with different kind of lighting. At Orchard Ridge, you may have noticed that the marquees have been removed, and that is part of a new campus signage project. We're completely replacing the signage at the Orchard Ridge campus. That short sign that you might see as you're driving by on 696 at 80 miles an hour that just goes whoosh, and you miss it. You get a little break in the trees and there's that sign. We're replacing that with a monumental sign that will be twice as tall, so clearly visible from all sides, as well as much better wayfaring signing on the Orchard Ridge campus. So that's the major project there. There's some other invisible things that we're doing at Orchard Ridge that are meant to improve the infrastructure that aren't as exciting. Like we've replaced the boilers, but we're investing in that campus. The current major building project is going on at our Auburn Hills campus, and that is an upgrade and expansion of our science building. This was built in 1970, it's long outdated, renovates our new science and computer science classes. We began this project in late 2019, and it will be complete in late summer 2021. So we're really excited about that to update the resources that are available to all of our students there. And then I know that there was quite a bit of press about the relocation of our Culinary Studies Institute to the Royal Oak campus. That is in the first year of a 3-year project. We're in the planning phases there. We really think that culinary is a great fit for Royal Oak because of the restaurant scene within walking distance of that campus. I know that feels like a loss to the Orchard Ridge campus, but we have good things planned for Orchard Ridge as well. This building project should begin at about this time next year with the approval of our Board of Trustees. So right now, if you drive up Main Street in Royal Oak, you probably don't even know that our campus is there. And that's because we have our back door to Main Street. We want to correct that. Our loading docks and a mechanical building sit on Main Street, and it really doesn't present ourselves well to the community. So part of the project there is to turn our face around to Main Street in Royal Oak, to locate culinary studies in a place where there are lots of resources within walking distance for our students, and to serve in a new way. I'll just wrap up. There's 4 ways, if you're interested, that you can help us advance our mission. The first is, and I don't advocate for education. I don't mean just particular to advocate for OCC, but that statistic I shared earlier, that 32% of the graduating class of 2019 did not pursue a college education. 5 years ago, that number was 27%. So every year over the last 5 years, more students who are graduating from our high schools are saying, I don't want to go to college. I find that alarming, and it's a trend that's going to be a problem for us. Because a better educated community is a community that has a higher quality of life. So if you could encourage the people who are considering college, the idea that a college education equals crushing debt and low employment prospects at the end of it is false. There are a lot of good options for debt-free college education and lots of good pathways to a good career. So please help us advocate for education in general. Let us know about opportunities. We can't be everywhere, and so we don't know everything. But you have your own experiences, your own connections in the community. And if we're missing something, I'd like to know it. If there's an opportunity that you see, a trend that's emerging in your particular industry, and that you'd like to share, I'd like to know it, so that we can incorporate that into our own planning. A recent example of that is that we're currently offering a course in connected and autonomous vehicles. Mm-hmm. So, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that's not something that we would ever contemplate. But because we're hearing from our community partners, we're hearing from people like you who are telling us what's going on, we can adapt and offer new things that the community needs.
Right.
Refer students to us. For that student who's on the fence about where they're going to go to college, let them know about the opportunities that are at OCC. We have lots of things lots of great choices, lots of great pathways for students of all ages, of all ambitions. And the last is, you've already helped us with that generous endowment those years ago. The scholarships are wonderful. If if you personally are interested in helping to advance students, we have opportunities through our Student Success Fund and Emergency Fund and other scholarships that can really help the student who's the only thing that they lack is the resources. So those are 4 ways that you can help us advance our mission. Any one of those is a great help to us. And it helps our students be successful here at the college, and then go on and serve the community in the ways that we all need and can benefit from. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing here so I can see everybody again. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have about any of the points that I talked about. Or anything else that I missed that you're curious about regarding OCC.
I have a couple of questions, or at least comments. The Rotary organization in our particular area has a rather deep exposure to youth through our Interact program. Interact basically for high school students. And working in that particular area for quite a number of years, what I've come to formulate as an idea is that unfortunately, the counselor staff in the high schools that I've visited and known fairly well have not been very open-minded about OCC. So in your suggestions that we might help by advocating, I'm all for that. And I was wondering specifically if you might have a program that is oriented toward high school counselor staff level people, just to maybe shift the emphasis, because most of them that I'm aware of push much more strongly for the 4-year college experience. And that's discouraging to some because some either can't get in for educational limitation or maybe for financial limitations. And I think we need to shift that a little bit, not to say that it's the wrong way to go, but I just think that there's a lot of opportunity for some less well-off people or whatever that have a need to quick start. I like the idea of the 13-year program. And I know some students that have gone through that and find it to have been rewarding. So that's an area that I can see that we might be able to leverage a little bit, but that's just a comment and a little question in there.
Yeah, thank you for that idea. I'll say that OCC pulled back from its high school relationships for a few years, which was not to our advantage. We've spent the last 4 years now rebuilding those relationships. We have a great admissions team, and they are each working very hard to make sure that they're known by the high school counselors and that we have good, solid relationships. We're still, I would say, from my judgment, we're still in the building phase of reestablishing those relationships. And my hope there is that's the foundation for which we can accomplish what you're describing, which is that the high school counselors are knowledgeable about OCC as a good choice for some of their high school students. The greatest challenge for OCC is in attracting students is that the prestige factor. I'll be frank about that. Every mom and dad wants to brag about where their son or daughter, where their child is going on to college. And we don't have that over the backyard fence brag factor. The thing that the parent can brag about when their child chooses OCC is that they are going to graduate debt-free and have a great experience in the classroom and be ready for whatever's next, versus getting into a highly selective top-tier university with $10,000 in scholarships to offset that $50,000 a year price tag, right? So that's the big challenge, and that challenge extends to the high school counselors too, because the high schools like to brag about where their graduates are going. And for all of our wonderful qualities, high schools don't brag about their students going to OCC. So that's one of our major challenges in attracting students, attracting every kind of student to come to OCC, is that we don't have the prestige of other choices.
Right.
Or in a little different slant, the stigma of a community college compared to a national university of whatever kind.
In spite of everything that we know about students who start at community colleges, there is still a sense that that the students who come to us choose us because they don't have another choice. But when we know that's not true, and we know that they go on to successful careers, or they go on to transfer to universities, and when they do transfer to universities, they perform better than the university's native students.
Right.
At the same level. So it's kind of interesting when you look at the statistics. Other questions?
And I have a question. My home club is West Bloomfield, and we have a scholarship program that we offer to students who are at-risk students.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's emotional at risk, and we talk a lot about OCC. We also are the sponsor of OEC, so we have a good relationship with you anyway, but
Yes.
West Bloomfield School District is. But one of the questions that comes up periodically, or one of the comments, is the TIPS program. Do you have any way that you can clarify that? Apparently it's a scholarship program that's offered through community colleges. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So with the caveat that I'm not a financial aid expert, the TIPS program is a state of Michigan program. It's TIPS stands for Tuition Incentive Program, and it's designed specifically to help students who are eligible for Medicaid to complete their high school and provide tuition assistance to go on to an associate's degree. And they can also use the TIPS program for a bachelor's degree, but our involvement in it, of course, is focused on that first step. So because the eligibility for a TIPS scholarship from the state of Michigan is built around Medicaid eligibility, it focuses on a particular income for families there. But that's, and I've just exhausted my knowledge about TIPS right there. So, but if you would like more information, if you want to put your contact information in the chat, and I can follow up with further details. I'll ask our financial aid if they can share more information about what's involved with that.
Anil, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I was listening, and for the essential workers, the OCC gives free education. So we have a lot of our staff who are wondering about it. They were like mixed inputs and mixed information we received. So our staff have like kind of paused. So if they have a degree, can they do a degree? Or is it for the people who do not have a degree at all? Or is it just like, it's not for bachelor's or master's? Or what kind of programs can they do for free?
So Futures for Frontliners is for workers who do not already have an associate's degree or higher.
Oh, okay.
And I believe that that the scholarship has to be used to pursue a certificate or an associate degree.
Sure.
And we ask our students to choose a curriculum in any case, any student who comes in. So there are a number of restrictions that, and the state has a website that gives all of the details about eligibility and the use of the funds. So they are the best source for the details on the eligibility. But we have a group as well. We have a specialist who is very familiar with it and can help navigate that. So if you have somebody who's interested and you want to connect them to me so we can get some assistance in the application process, I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome. I will let our staff know about this, and if I get any response, I will send it your way.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we might have lost Cynthia.
Looks like she dropped off, yeah.
So one other little thing I'll share with you right now is that I really miss being on the campus. There's a lot of things I missed about the campuses, the interaction with the students, just the atmosphere, and I really miss the culinary offerings at the Orchard Ridge campus. You probably do too if you've ever had a buffet or one of our dinners that the students put on.
Yep.
Right now they have something that they put together that's called OCC to go. Every Wednesday, you can order in advance a lunch prepared by our culinary students. You drive up to the circular drive there at the top of the hill, pick it up, drive away. They're also doing some bakery offerings there through the beginning of December. So they've adapted, our instructors have adapted to give the students experience in a new way. But if you're craving some a meal prepared by our OCC Culinary Studies Institute, you can still get one. Search for OCC to go on our website, and there's a menu, order in advance and pick up on a Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Yeah. No other questions?
How many types of
Too much
scholarships?
information
Oh,
for questions.
Right, yeah. I'm sorry, what was that, Phil?
I was thinking, how many types of scholarships are available? I know the one we're involved with, and it has particular constraints, is probably not the right word, but it aims at a particular student from a particular area. Is there other, I'm assuming there are other scholarships available that maybe are not so easily advertised?
Yes, so the foundation, the OCC Foundation, manages about 140 endowed scholarships.
Wow.
So like yours, the donors step forward, they made a contribution, and that then generates revenue every year, depending on the market, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, in a typical year, another 40 or so scholarships that are funded along the way. So in round numbers, we manage about 200 different scholarships. For the student, it's a very easy process. We have a single entry point for them to apply. They answer a handful of basic questions, and then we match the criteria of the scholarship with their student record. So most of the work of the matching students to scholarships is done automatically. We then look at the pool of eligible candidates for each one and choose the one that best represents the wishes of our sponsors. So that's the typical process. There are a number of other scholarship programs that come from institutional funds. I mentioned that the scholarship for seniors, if you're 60 or over, there's a 20% discount on your tuition, that is kind of in the form of a scholarship. And then every year there's the Chancellor Scholarship, which last year provided the top 100 students in the county, graduating high school seniors, with what amounts to be a full ride, $3,500.
Wow.
for their first year at OCC. And that is advertised through our admissions team directly to the high schools. So those are the big scholarships. But the foundation awards on the order of, say, $300,000 in scholarships every year. A good portion of that coming from endowed scholarships like the Farmington Rotary Scholarship.
Taking that one up a second, I know there's a scholarship in our name also, but the question I had for Lynn at one point, and I didn't put the question formally to him, can you continue to add, like, can Farmington Rotary continue to add funds to that endowment scholarship, or do we need to start another one?
No, anyone can add to any scholarship at any time. We don't put
any
any
amount.
limits on that.
Okay.
Any amount, yes.
Okay. So even adding $100 or $200 or $500 a year is a good thing to do for an endowed scholarship.
Yes, yes. In fact, we have some donors who have done that. They establish the endowment and then they give a few hundred every year, and over time that builds up to the point where we're making 2 awards instead of 1.
Awesome.
I got a question. One of my pet peeves is that the businesses who don't pay any taxes keep demanding of our taxpayer that they educate their workforce. Are you seeing any more success in getting businesses to help fund some of your programs?
So the success we're seeing is in partnerships that reduce our overhead. And I'll give you an example of that. Robotics programs are incredibly capital intensive. And the technology changes so fast that the college would be spending on the order of $1 million every 3 years to keep our robotics training equipment up to date. Instead, we partner with the robotics manufacturers like Herco, like Fanuc, like Siemens. They give us the equipment for free.
Wow.
So that we are training. I mean, there's self-interest there, of course.
Sure.
Right? We're training our students on their equipment, but they are learning on the latest models of that robotic equipment. And when it becomes a little bit outdated, the company comes, takes it out, and brings the new stuff in. So that's an example of the commitment that our business partners are making. They are, they're not, some of them have tuition programs for their employees, so they are paying for their employees to come to OCC. That's another way. But the savings to the college, and by extension to the taxpayer, by providing us with a high cost capital equipment is really significant. We're very grateful for that type of partnership.
A question on endowed scholarships again. How does one start an endowed scholarship? Say we wanted a whole bunch of Rotary clubs to contribute annually a certain amount of money. Could that start an endowed scholarship before it reaches the appropriate amount to actually give out funds?
Yes.
Okay.
We can. There's many paths to endowing a scholarship, and we like to be as flexible as possible.
Sure.
We like there to be a reasonable timeline. So if you said over the next 20 years we'll eventually endow the scholarship, we might want to have a conversation about shortening that timeline. But we recognize that there are a lot of choices out there for clubs and individuals and companies to put their philanthropy, and we'll work with people who are interested in helping advance education in our community through scholarships at OCC. So we're not. Yeah.
And I know as we did, there was some restrictions on who we think you should give the scholarship to. Is that common?
It is very common, and you know, it's natural. You want, especially for a memorial scholarship that is intended to represent the legacy of an individual. It's very common for the criteria to connect in some way to the goals or the life work of that individual. So, for example, with your own endowment, part of the criteria is that the recipient be receiving disability support services through our Access program at OCC.
Right.
Right. So that was something that was important, and it's reflected in the criteria and in our selection of the student. And so,
yeah, I don't want to keep you too long, but can you say just a few words about that Access program?
So Access is our disability services. It's an acronym, which I will not, I will not be able to decipher for you. But you know, one of our values is accessibility, and that means that students who have physical challenges, students who have learning challenges, we provide what they need to be successful with us. Now, unlike in high school, we don't adjust our curriculum. You know, the high school student who has those particular challenges, they can have an individualized instruction plan that adjusts the curriculum in a particular way. We have to deliver the same curriculum to every student. And Access makes sure that every student, whatever their ability, has what they need to successfully pursue that. So, for example, last year the foundation secured a grant to purchase adaptive equipment for low vision students. Imagine that you're sitting in the classroom and you have very poor eyesight, and a big portion of the instruction is the professor writing on the board.
Right.
And you can't see it, right?
Mm.
So we provide the adaptive equipment for that student. That's just one example. But the Access is absolutely comprehensive in terms of the type of students that it serves.
Excellent. Lynn?
Well, personally, Dan, I think you made an excellent presentation this morning. So as we normally do to conclude our meetings, we recite the four-way test in Rotary. And if you can see it in the background behind me, you can read along, you can recite it if you know it. If not, just think about what it is. But the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
Third, will build goodwill and better friendships. And fourth, will be beneficial to all concerned. And the presentation this morning certainly fit the four-way test very, very well. So again, thank you. Pleasure to have you with us.
Very good, Dan.
Thank you for sharing your morning with me. You can get my contact information from Lynn or from Phil, and I'm happy to continue the conversation and answer any of the questions you may have.
Very good.
All righty. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I will end the meeting. The recording will be up there certainly by late tomorrow morning at the worst. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you.